Welcome back to another episode of the EMP Podcast. Today we're going to talk all around travel, management, organisation, whether you're a lifestyle client, whether you're a competitive client, and how to manage being able to go away, either stay on plan or at least stay within a remit of not letting everything go completely off track. So we'll talk about it from a competitive bodybuilding perspective. We'll go at it from two different angles, both from an off-season angle and a competition prep angle, because essentially those are the two seasons that you are going to potentially have travel within. The biggest thing when it comes to being in a competition prep and traveling is organising the times in which you do travel to align with A, time zones if you are travelling abroad, or B, any travel complications that you could potentially have, so essentially making sure that there's enough time, and C, organising yourself to be able to travel away and still have everything that you do need. So if you are travelling abroad, the first thing that you do when obviously you're booking your flights is make sure that A, you're travelling far enough away from your competition day that if there are any delays that it's not going to impact too much stress and too much pressure when it comes to the actual day of your show. So me, for example, when I go to somewhere like America, which can be sometimes like a 9-hour time difference, I'll always make sure that I'm there at least 4 days before the show. Obviously afterwards, I wouldn't be going back the same day, but definitely give yourself the next day. If it's a little bit of a shorter flight, something like within Europe for us, so 3-4 hours max, I would aim to go at least 2 days before. So that's one place where you can start. When it comes to time zone changes, you should have your coach, or at least your brain if you are a coach of yourself, as to what you need to do when it comes to your foods. If it's just a couple of hours difference, you'll not need to adjust your foods. If you're going forwards in time, likely for one day you'll have a little bit less foods depending on travel time. And then if you are going back in time, likely you will need to have a little bit more food with you to make sure that you're not fasting for a really long window. That's just going to drive hunger, it's going to drive fatigue. Likely you're going to be traveling in peak week. The thing that you want to do in peak week is drop fatigue. If you're not thinking about these different things when you do travel, you're going to just set yourself up for failure when it comes to actually getting there and staying as low stressed, even within yourself, as well as obviously mentally as well. When it comes to organisation, you'll need to take everything with you. Supplementation with your health subs. You can even take things like dry products in your bag, cream of rices from Trained by JP Nutrition, use code MEG10, whey protein, oats, rice cakes, dark chocolates, mixed dried berries or dried fruits. Something that if you do get somewhere, your destination, and you can't instantly go to a supermarket, that if you do need to make a meal or you need to have a meal the following morning, you're not having to rush to a supermarket. So having some dry products in your bag alongside all the other things with health supplementation, enough clothes, even things like rice cookers, etc., just to make it easy. Like, you don't actually need to have an apartment, you don't need to have an Airbnb, etc., but you do need to have something where you can cook your meat, you can cook your rice, or you can cook your cream of rice / oats, so even just a kettle. Those types of things are just very basic requirements when it comes to travelling somewhere to make sure that you can stay on plan. Some people actually bulk cook rices, meats, vacuum pack it, freeze it, put it in their suitcases. When they get to the destination, they just put it in the fridge and then it stays for a few days. You can do that option, or you can cook it fresh if you are A, close to the supermarket and you choose somewhere that is close to it, and B, you have some cooking facilities, whether that be at the place that you're staying or you take them in your actual bag. That will allow you to be able to stay on plan when you are around your competition as well. One of the other things is just making sure that your actual place of habitat, is that what you could say? So where you're going to stay, is close to the gym, is close to the venue, just to try and reduce stress as much as possible. Essentially, organisation is key. And with that comes your work as well. If you are an online coach, or even in a different environment where you've not taken time off to be able to go to work, work doesn't need to stop. Yes, you might need to communicate with your clients or whoever it is that you work for, that your actual timings might be a bit different, especially based on travel, if you've not got access to the internet, etc. But for the most part, you should be able to organise yourself to be able to get everything done that's needed. For me personally, I'll never miss out on my check-ins on the days that are needed. If I ever needed my clients to check in on a different day, then I would, but they wouldn't ever be missing out on a check-in. I would never be stopping my communication with my clients. Even on my Olympia show day, I had client calls for people that were actually competing. One client that was having a real emergency when it came to her emotions, having a call with her on the morning of my competition, making sure that check-ins were still done, form clips were still replied to, level of service was still held to a very high regard. Most of my clients were extremely lovely, and even without me saying anything, didn't potentially communicate when it came to form clips as what they would usually. But again, it didn't come from me asking, it just came from them thinking, right, I probably understand where Meg is at the minute. She might not have as much time to be at her phone, so maybe I'll actually just hold back and send them on the Monday rather than on the Friday. So I was very appreciative of that. Again, I didn't ask for it, but I was organised enough with my food prep, with my things in my bag, being well equipped with everything that I needed to make sure that even if they did send them, there wouldn't have been any lock or lack in communication from me, just to make sure that I could stay on top of it. Especially for me, when I'm competing, keeping my own personal routine, which includes my client work, it just helps me to feel normal. And I think if you can keep your days when you are competing as normal as possible, you enjoy it a little bit more. You don't feel like you're overthinking everything. You don't feel like you've not got something to do. You don't feel like you're fiddling your fingers and overthinking things too much. You essentially just go about your day. It's worked for the entire 20 weeks of your prep. All those different things, all those different work requirements. So why do you need to stop it? I mean, essentially, if you're a builder, you don't want to be on site the day before your show. But if you're an online coach or someone that works online and you can't just reply to an email or a check-in, there's probably something a little bit wrong with you. Sorry, that's not meaning to be harsh in any way. But travelling whilst you're on prep, A, you can keep on top of your work. B, you can make sure that your foods are all prepped. It doesn't matter if you don't have an Airbnb, even if you have just a kitchenette or just access to some different facilities that you can cook with, being close to a supermarket, making sure that you can cook the foods, making sure that you've got your weighing scales. And if you do forget something, communicate it with your coach. Look to keep yourself nice and calm, take a deep breath, think about it from a logical perspective. What can I do to overcome this situation to be able to work around it and get through it as easily as possible? If you're in an off-season setting and you're going on holiday, am I saying that you need to be quite as intensive as that? Depends how good you want to be. That is my honest answer. Because for me, even in my off-season, I mean, I'm not competing right now. I've travelled probably more than half of this year, and I've not missed anything. I've trained when we needed to train. I've kept my foods on point. I've kept my hydration on point. I've kept my routine on point. Yes, there's been times that it's been busy, so I'm not saying it's like when I'm at home and I have that a couple of hours on a weekend where I can just sit and relax and enjoy a little bit of downtime with Cuba. I'm not saying that chill out time isn't eaten into, but it's possible to be able to stay on top of everything if you want to. And if you're a competitor and you want to push to high level of competitor, high level amateur, because even as an amateur competitor now, because bodybuilding has so many competitors, amateur competitions are extremely high standard. So if you want to be a good amateur, you need to stay locked in. If you want to be a pro, you really need to lock in. If you want to be a good pro, you really need to lock in. So whether that is off season or prep, I do believe that you should be sticking to a plan. It's like, even if you go and you are in an all-inclusive environment and you are in an off season, I still think that you need to keep on top of your steps. Probably have somewhere to train, even if it's in the capacity of not doing as much frequency or volume as usual. But you don't really want to just be eating the all-inclusive foods. You want to be able to portion control, etc. Stay on top of plan, whether that be with a rice cooker, food scales, doing cooked weight foods, etc. You need to still be on plan if you want to be great. I actually get a lot of people that reply back to my stuff saying, oh, well, Dorian Yates used to take a week off after the Olympia. I can guarantee you that when he took a week off from the Olympia, he still knew what nutrition was going into his body because he was that self-aware. He will have still kept on top of some form of training and kept on top of staying active. So even if he wasn't in routine, etc., he was definitely still locked in to a certain degree. But if you are in an off season and potentially that isn't your goal, you can definitely go away and just be smart. Keep on top of your steps, keep on top of being active, make sure that when you are eating out or eating within the hotel's foods, that you're choosing good quality foods, choosing good quality options, choosing the right portion control to make sure that you can stay essentially in a great space when you do travel away. If you're a lifestyle competitor or a lifestyle client, slightly different. You should be given some guidance from your coach as to what it is that you can do to try and keep on top of not gaining too much body weight when you do go away. Whether that be a step amount, going out and doing some swimming, going in and enjoying some downtime with the kids in the pool. When it comes to the foods, what type of foods do you want to look out for? What type of foods do you want to have on your plate? What type of portions do you want to have? I usually give my clients a rough guide of the things like fist-sized portions of different things, whether that be protein, carbohydrates, vegetables, trying to stay away from fried foods, trying to stay away from heavily sauced and creamy foods, and things like that. It's just going to try and reduce in the chances of having a lot of extra calories to try and keep things in a great space. And then all you literally need to do when you do come back home from those types of holidays as a lifestyle client is just get back to plan. Anything that's done in terms of a little bit of damage, whether that be a little bit of extra body weight, likely just getting back to plan, things will drop off very nicely as long as you pull back to baseline. So those are the different ways in which I would manage travel, whether you're a bodybuilder in off-season and prep, whether you're a lifestyle client. I have done a separate video around what to do, how to organise, how to prepare foods, etc. So please find that within my channel. But that is how I would approach it if you are a bodybuilder, whether that be from a prep, lifestyle perspective. Essentially, if you want to be a good bodybuilder, you need to try and find a way to be able to stay on plan all the time, especially if you want to be a good amateur, a pro, or pushing to be a good pro. And if you aren't, you're probably just reducing your own chances of being able to get there. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll be back again for another episode.